Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. What else would you want to be doing on a Monday morning other than talking to some two very dear friends that are experts in how to treat people, that are experts in hospitality, that are experts in the service industry? That's exactly what we're going to be doing today. You probably rested over the weekend, and then you were probably thinking, Monday morning, what do I have to look forward to? It's going to be so difficult. I have to hit my quota. I have to be nice to people. This is the place to be. This is being broadcast live on LinkedIn Live, Facebook Live, and also to our YouTube channel, with most people don't, but you do. And we're thrilled to have conversations. This is the conversation that is continuing. We're talking about humanality, the humanality series, about how to make sure we are treating people well. Humanality is being defined as making people feel cared for, valued, seen, and heard in a world that is highly transactional and way overly processed. Without further ado, let's welcome to the stage two dear friends, Kelly Bishop with Blood Centers of America. Kelly, good morning.
Good morning, Bart. Good morning, Doug.
Oh, we're not including Doug quite yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. No,
Yeah.
Forget Doug. Good morning, Bart. It's so great to see you on this Monday morning.
Yes. Kelly is an expert in experience in organizational strategy. That's right. Organizational experience strategy with Blood Centers of America. She also has her own company called Wellevate Experiences. And we can talk about that later. How's that sound, Kelly?
Sounds great.
We'll
focus on you and what we're doing with humanity.
Now we'll focus in on Doug. Doug Baarman just returned from a Europe trip. Welcome back. Senior Vice President of Conference Direct. Doug, if people don't know what Conference Direct is, what is it?
We help people put on great meetings and events. That's what we do.
Wow. And Kelly, how would you describe what you do for Blood Centers of America?
So I do event strategy and experience strategy, as well as engagement. So what that means is creating different experiences at our events for all of our attendees, all of our member centers, all of our suppliers, anybody that's coming in for them. And then also creating different engagement experiences for our centers within. So it could be building team culture. It could be helping people, kind of raise the bar within their own centers and engage their donors more so that they can help their centers. And it's also around teaching and helping people understand what Blood Centers of America do.
Yeah, and I learned so much. So thank you again for including me in your annual conference. I learned so much. And Doug, offline, I'll share with you what I learned because it was just phenomenal, Kelly, and you do a superb job. Okay, today's conversation, and Doug is just returning, so I know it's a different time zone, I'm sure, when you just got back. But today we're going to talk about just ask. So it is pillar number 3 of humanality. Pillar number 1 was I see you. And we had Gail Olofsson, our dear friend, join. Pillar number 2 was be where your feet are, meaning how do we stay focused with the people that are in front of us? How do we avoid distraction? And Meg Fazy, founder of Phase Forward, sponsorship guru as well, she joined us for that. Today is just ask. People don't want to be sold, they want to be asked. So Kelly, I just want to start with you and just the conversation, the importance of asking questions as you're interacting with people that are selling to you all the time. What are some best practices of what you've seen on the importance of asking questions? And then I just want it to be less formal and just have a dialogue. So Kelly, I'm going to start with you first.
Well, I think it goes to a lot. I love when I send an RFP and the salesperson picks up the phone and calls me to clarify, to ask me questions, to understand what is the most important thing for the BCA with this program? How can I help you bring this program here? What is going to be that main driver? What's the most important thing? So that's one of them. I feel like when someone just turns around and kicks back a response to my RFP without really calling me, I kind of feel like, and when it's not fully answered or not really hitting the mark, do they really understand or do they really kind of care about my business too? Or is it a kind of canned response? I went on a site inspection last week and we walked into the hotel and the sales manager said, I want to come sit down and just review everything, talk about things, let's have a conversation. And it was fantastic. I've never really had someone take the time on a site inspection to like sit, talk, and she was like, "Oh, I think I misunderstood that prior. So let me flip some things around, and now I really understand what you're looking for, or what's really important to you, because we were able to sit face to face and talk about it. It made a huge difference."
Okay, scary. First time. You just said first time. You have been doing this for more than 10 years. Let's
Right.
say more than 15 years. Let's be respectful.
Right. Almost 20.
35 years for me, Doug 30, 89 years for Doug. But the first time that someone has asked you to sit down just to go over some things. What a simple yet smart approach. Instead of us, I know you're on a timeline. I want to show you X, Y, and Z. Well, let me make sure I understand before I start telling
Right.
and before I start selling things. Okay, first time ever. Amazing. Doug, same kind of question.
Well, I think I would piggyback on what Kelly was saying. I think it's shocking, first of all, and some of it I would even go back and blame myself, Bart, as a sales leader back in the property. I think we train people. Here's how you do the site. Here's how you show the hotel. To your comments about this session, it was me. Here's about the hotel, what I want to show you. I think Kelly's example is the best. I've had that a few times, but to your point, Bart, it should be happening all the time. And again, I'm not blaming the salespeople as much as the sales leaders and the people giving them guidance of, hey, here's how it should be. But the best one I've had just recently was the same as Kelly. They sat down with us and said, okay, here's the itinerary I have for the hour you're at our hotel. I'd like to do this, this, and this. And my customer was like, look, we don't need to see the health club. None of our people work out, blah, blah, blah. And so we literally changed the order of the site visit right there. And it was much more impactful. And I think back to even, my Marriott days in DC, we started in the lobby and here's the hotel and we'll get you the lay of the land. Maybe they didn't want to know that. So why was I starting with what I felt was important? It is asking questions, to Kelly's point, and finding out what's important to you and then tailoring it to that. And I would go back to what Kelly said too, that the presentation or the RFP response is usually a standard response, that it's plug in Doug, plug in Kelly, here's what I said, but it's the same paragraph, whether it's going to Bart, Kelly, Doug, whomever. And so it's not personalized. They're not asking questions. They're not listening. I mean, Kelly, great example. I can't think of the last time a salesperson picked up the phone and called me and said, this is a great RFP. Can we talk about it a little bit more?
Okay.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's crazy. However, right. So there was a story in my book. At one
My
point.
favorite book.
Yeah, thank you both. Right, Doug. You have to. This is when you show the copy with the.
You know what? I have that in my office at home, Bart. Apparently,
Okay.
I didn't travel with it to Europe.
Well,
I do apologize for that.
I'm disappointed you didn't travel
It's
with
very
it.
compact, and I could have brought it with me. That's shame on me. I apologize.
Because it's paperback. Just wait for the second edition that is hardback. But there is a story. Let me see if I can find it. I have it memorized, so I don't even know why I'm trying to look for it. But it is It is essentially book my meeting, but don't talk to me. Book my meeting and don't talk to me. And this was years ago. Planners like you both would send out an RFP and would say, "Do not contact. Do not contact."
Right.
Wow.
Okay. So has that changed? We're hearing from both of you. It's okay to pick up the phone and ask me about the RFP. Do you think most planners, and I know we're generalizing, do you think most planners agree with that? Or are they sending it out to 800 different locations and they're just going to see what sticks and they don't have time to talk to 800 people? What are your thoughts?
I think there's a portion of that goes on. I think our role when we're working with one of our clients is to, trim that list down and let's get focused on where you want to be. And if in the first round you're not finding it, we can expand the search or something. But I do think, Bart, that's why customers or even third parties will say, hey, don't call us, I'm too busy, which again is kind of defeating the whole purpose of this. We need to be talking it through. That's the value of our time. That's the value of the meeting planner's time, to spend time talking about their program and what's important to them. So we should never be saying that. But Bart, there's a trend right now, this building technology where we can book small meetings directly and, we don't need to talk to people. I keep going back to the small meetings or the board meetings and the planning committee meetings and the incentive trips. those meetings are sometimes more challenging to plan than these big conferences. So we're going by size that we think we can just do that without talking to anyone. And I think we're going down the wrong road. This is a people business, and we need to understand the importance of that meeting, what's trying to be accomplished, and then address that.
Yeah. So someone might see size. Oh, it's only 12 rooms for one night. Well, those 12 rooms might represent the greatest decision makers of this XYZ association or organization. The board members, the directors, and 9 out of 12 of them have special dietary requests, and 3 out of whatever them need help with this, and that. That's so interesting. You can't judge a lead by the revenue, right? You can't judge the importance by room size. Kelly, has that happened to you? Are you seeing something similar, that people are trying to automate quick things and smaller things that they are maybe deeming as not as important?
I don't think, maybe not automating, but I know I have a upcoming meeting of 15 people. It's CEOs from all of our blood centers, so it's a very high level meeting. But to Doug's point, it seems like little. So, and I'm at a very prominent hotel, and I have yet to have a call from them. Everything has just been by email, booking back and forth. Right. And so it's just a change. And part of me wonders too, like, is it a generational thing where Doug and I want that contact? We want to be talking to people. We want to have the conversation on the phone, because I'd rather that than like the emails back and forth. Like, I want to have that true partnership where I'd rather take the time. So maybe it means I work a little bit longer that day, but I had those great conversations and meaningful connections versus that quick emails back and forth asking, different questions or trying to clarify things. So I don't know where that stands, if that's a whole different bucket or topic of humanality, but I think that maybe that is something. And I try to focus more where I'm sending, to Doug's point too, right? Try to focus in on where I'm sending my RFPs. If I know this is the city we're looking at or the destination, all right, let's narrow it down, because I also want to be respectful to the hoteliers and my sales partners, and being able to stay on top of them, like giving them updates. And if I have even 10 gets to be a lot, but if I have 20 out there, that is too much to manage personally, right? It doesn't feel good to me. I'm not making other people feel good on the other end of it. So I'd rather have tight and then, keep expanding that as I need to. So turning down, giving a reason, moving on to the next round of them.
All right. So lessons that I'm taking away, just ask the question. Don't be afraid to ask the additional follow-up question. Tell me more. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone and truly just ask. Why do you think it is, Doug, that maybe sometimes people are hiding behind email communication? And I'm going to say hiding behind email communication. Why do you think sometimes people are emailing questions when it might be more efficient to pick up the phone?
I don't know. I mean, I know there's a lot of talk about generational, but I mean, my daughters, I don't necessarily see that. I mean, I don't think they're all in that same bucket. I go back to that, some of the training. I think, you and I were taught as we grew up in hotels to pick up the phone and have a conversation with the customers. We had, checklists we were supposed to go through, but we went through training to hopefully make that more conversational. I think there's a big part of it, which is probably a whole nother subject. We're running very lean at the hotels. So some of it is they just don't have the time to pick up the phone. And so it's easier to email and go back and forth, which I think takes longer, quite frankly, than a phone conversation. But a lot of people see it as more efficient. But I think there's many factors causing it. I've been telling people, I've been speaking to some of these smaller hotel management companies on panels and stuff. I think whoever figured this out is going to be the champion and just land a ton of business. To Kelly's point, I just had a hotel. We sent a similar type lead and they said, oh gosh, we saw that it's the 15 CEOs coming. We're not going to put our person that normally handles small meetings on this, who's normally more of a junior person. We're going to put our top person on staff because this is your 25 CEOs. Kudos to them as a hotel to recognize that, right? Because again, the board as sales leaders, nothing wrong with that. You and I were there too. The small meetings go to the more junior people. I handle a lot of what's still called SMRF, the affinity market. In most times it's handled by the more junior salespeople. I'm seeing a trend that more senior people handle it. They're the ones that got to go negotiate with the chef in the kitchen, ask the difficult questions, know how to ask the high gain questions to get more information out. So, I think the hotels, the hotel companies that figure some of that out, I think are going to blow away the other ones that are just going to keep doing business as usual.
That's such a great point, Doug. Just from my side, working in the hotels as well, but I was on the event side and thinking about the team that I had in place, and it's so true, right? The junior would get the Smurf business to plan, but it was probably the most difficult.
Yeah,
versus the corporate stuff that was very easy because those corporate planners were so detailed and organized and like just have it down. And so that's kind of like a brilliant thought to flip the way you're structuring your events team in a hotel.
Yeah. So bullet point number 2 or gold nugget number 3, evaluate meetings on attendees, not on size, right? Not on size. Yep. Amazing. Kelly, what were some of the better questions people have asked you that made you stop and think, goodness, this hotel, this provider really wants to understand more about us? Anything come to mind?
I think just kind of, not every hotel asks the questions, and some of them are really easy, right, to ask, but like kind of how I started off, like, what is important to this group, right? Or what is the game changer? What would make this property make you book it, like, yep, this is it, look no further type of thing. Not a lot of people ask that. Or like, I did have someone the other day and I thought this was like a brilliant question. I think she knows that we've kind of told her like her rate's a little higher than what we had on our RFP is like the wish. But she came back and she said, hey, I know I can't hit your rate, but let's talk about concessions and what's important to you that way, because maybe we can make it up in concessions, which is huge because a lot of times, right, like, planners and myself, like I'll put on my wish list of concessions and it might just be like you get like a few of them or maybe you get all of them. But for a hotel to really stop and think like, wait, what's really important? Like, how can we make up this price difference? I thought that was really great of them. So I actually came into that email this morning. So that made me really happy. It's a great way to start a day. Like she kind of has been thinking about it. Like, what can I do to help make it feel better?
Yeah, and we're putting across the line here, what would make this the best experience ever for your attendees? And what that question is not, it's what is your budget for the rate? How many people for dinner? What time does the general session start? We need to ask those details, of course. And there's a statement that I think both of you have heard me say along the lines of your head will analyze, your head needs to analyze, but your heart is going to decide. Heads analyze, hearts decide.
It's all about the feels.
Yes, that's, I mean, and that's all about humanality, correct?
Yeah.
And so if someone is asking you a question about what would make this the best experience ever for your attendees, Doug, does that relate to how your attendees would feel cared for, valued, seen, or heard? Which one?
Yeah, I mean, I love what Kelly's saying to that question. I mean, for me, the best that ever is when someone sits down and says, tell me about the best, incentive trip you've ever had. Tell me about the best conference you ever had. Then with the follow-up question, what made it special? Something's going to come out of that. It was the location with the beautiful views. It was the distance from the airport. It was the food and beverage. I mean, what I love Kelly's title and Kelly's role because it's all about experience now. We don't just want to go to meetings and go, breakout, general session, breakout, coffee break, lunch. We want something different coming out of that. But I think when someone tells about it, we were actually traveling part of the trip with one of our friends and we were talking about weddings and stuff like that. We still talk about our wedding. It was the most fun and people still talk about it because for whatever reason, it just all worked out. We all stayed in the same hotel. No one was driving back and forth. Everyone was just there. It was the networking. It was the hanging out. We were seeing each other at breakfast, So that would come out of that kind of question. Tell me about the best meeting ever. And then you can start to sell your hotel. Oh, well, here's what we have here. Here's why we would make it special.
And then that leads naturally to differentiators. Because a hotel is a hotel is a hotel, and destinations are destinations and destinations. I know when I'm broadcasting this live to my Facebook channel, I have a lot of new travel advisor friends. And Doug, as you were talking about experiences, and Kelly, you can relate, of course, it's not just about the place. It's about the place that you go to get the experience. So Kelly, along those lines, can you share a recent, perhaps leisure trip and what questions were asked that helped you have a better experience? Maybe it was as a family, maybe it was as one of your kids' athletic teams. Anything come to mind?
I feel like I've been traveling every weekend for my kids' sports. I don't know if that's considered leisure or not.
Leisure.
But I mean, here's a good example, I guess, of this when I think of that, right? I joke around about the weekend travel for sports, but there is a hotel complex that I just went to last weekend and it was in Long Island, and I felt like they were very thoughtful to who their attendees are and whether they're going towards, we were down there as a lacrosse team. There's a whole big lacrosse tournament there. It was kind of like a complex of 2 hotels, same brand. They built a basketball court, like on a sport court in the middle, right? So it gave something for these kids to be doing. There's a hotel out here in Western Mass who built like a knee hockey court in the basement by their athletic center. And these are like the kind of the quick hotels, right? The quick stay type of hotel. But I feel like these hotels are taking that extra step to think about their people that are coming in to stay and they're travelers and these kids, right? They don't want them in their hallways playing knee hockey. So let's build a rink in the basement. Like, brilliant. They're not chasing around and being ornery and yelling. Like, we were at a hockey tournament this winter, and they're booking the business, right? They're bringing in these hockey tournaments for their ice rink outside. But yet at the end, we walked out, they charged us all an extra $600 because they said our kids were running around the halls.
Wow.
Like, I mean, so it puts that bad taste in my mouth that, like, none of us are going to go travel to that hotel for vacation now. And that's a resort, right? A ski area. So I feel like hotels can really be mindful of who their target markets are and really think about that and create that feel and that experience. As a personal trip I did, like a big one, we went, I just say it because it is one of the coolest places I've ever been. We went to the Livongo down in St. John, and we booked it. They called us, they spoke, talked to all about the experience and what to expect. And I just thought, they did not have to call and do all this. They helped find charters and all the things so that your experience in St. John was this like incredible experience at the Livongo. It was taking that extra step to add in the feels of what I could expect. And it built that excitement and anticipation, and they exceeded it when we were there.
And just by asking, and I typed into the ticker and you could see that, right? Don't guess, just ask. So that's one component. Ask, what would make your stay better? And I'm thinking about this, not just for hospitality, not just for travel, not for our travel advisors, but for anywhere. I just went to a dentist, which sounds ridiculous. I actually posted this story and a friend said, maybe you should take that down because you don't want to be posting about dentists. But anyway, let me just share this example. The just ask element. I completed the survey. You put in your insurance information, and I had never had a dentist ask this before. What are your expectations when you come to visit our dental office? Is there any way, is there anything that you want us to know that would make you feel more comfortable? And I put, yes, I have a bad neck and a bad back. So be sensitive to that. And then the second thing is I've not been to a dentist in over a year. Don't make me feel bad. Don't make me feel bad. That's what I put in there. And sure enough, so here is an example in which they asked and it was relevant. Doug, I want to ask you the question, however, of besides just asking, how can hospitality, travel professionals, anyone that is doing anything for you, be able to provide without just asking? And you and I did this example. We did this little experiment when we were getting coffee in Georgetown a couple of years ago. How can people uncover without just asking? Let's see if you remember.
Well, I can give an example of that just happened to be, but I want to say what Kelly said, Bart, is another one of your great takeaways. It was a brilliant idea. That hotel that she's referencing knows that they focus on youth hockey. Why wouldn't you build your hotel, set up the service for that? Hotels do have a niche. There's a lot of certain things coming there. What a great idea. You know, I think there's lots of, I've shared examples in the past, Bart, where people asked a simple question at the reservations line. Oh, why are you coming to stay at our hotel? Find out it's a birthday, meeting up with my 2 daughters that are going to Florida State, and suddenly there's something in the room. I'll give you an example. So we arranged transportation. We had to leave our hotel in Lake Garda, Italy at 6 in the morning to get to Venice. And the front desk made the reservation for the car service to get us there. I didn't want to rent a car and drive to the airport in another country. I figured I'd probably lose the car somehow. So she said, wow, you know, our restaurant isn't open yet. She goes, I'm going to have the kitchen put together a nice little package for you for your ride. And it'll be here at the front desk. No one will be at the front desk in the morning, but just look for the package. You know, Danielle and I get down there. There's a package with our name and room number on it. Sandwiches, fruit, waters, everything for the 2-hour ride. Didn't ask, didn't say, hey, where do we get food at 6 in the morning? They offered it up. So I would say they probably have people that leave early at their hotel, have observed this time and time again, and sat somewhere in a meeting and said, maybe we should offer this. What do you think? You know what I mean? So it's being aware. You know, you should be aware that, gosh, we have a lot of families that come in for soccer tournaments or hockey tournaments. Maybe we should do stuff that would be important to them. You know, so it's not only asking questions. Sometimes it's just being observant, Bart, and then being empowered to go to these meetings that we all know take place every day. That, you know, how many rooms do they have? What's their food and beverage spend? What's their history? You know, and maybe there's some other things we should be talking about here.
Yes.
Yeah. No, and what I love about that, Doug, it's one of the other pillars that we'll be talking about in the series of 11. It's notice, anticipate, and over deliver. And I guess we are starting at the foundation, right? Number 1 was I see you. Number 2, be where your feet are. Number 3 is just ask. And if anyone listening that is providing any type of service or product, and you are required to sell or convince, if you simply start off by just asking, that is great. Now, as you progress, going above and beyond is over delivering, noticing, anticipating without being asked. Great. But even if just fundamentally and foundationally, if we just start to ask better questions instead of telling what we want to tell, because that's how we are told that we need to sell, no, we can start asking questions. All right. Brilliant.
Asking and listening, right?
Yes.
Listening to understand. So then to Doug's point, where then they take it into something, oh, we heard that you're leaving early, so we're listening and we're gonna create this experience in the fields by leaving you this.
Right. Not that difficult to do. All right, Kelly, I know
they didn't have to go anywhere and ask either, Bart. They did it. Right. You know what I mean? They were empowered to do it. You and I have talked a lot about the empowerment or the lack thereof, you know?
Yeah. And I believe that we're using this opportunity talking about hospitality with humanality, right? The element of humanality system and in treating people well and caring. I believe that this resource, the 3 of us today, when Gail joins us, when Meg joins us, I believe, Doug, you and I have talked about this extensively, that sometimes in the hospitality world or just in business world, people are so busy that they might not have time to have access to their boss or their boss's boss or their boss's boss. They might not be able to sit down and talk about, tell me about the importance of asking questions. I believe through this type of environment, we are providing resources. We've already had comments come up. I know people are watching live on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube Live. So thank you for that. But thank you to both of you for sharing your insight. We all have been doing this for a while. We all have the same similar beliefs of how we should treat people. These are the conversations I think that matter. Yes, it's important about where you're going to get your next opportunity and revenue, but these are the things that will matter for the future of your business. Kelly, I know we're limited on time. Major takeaway that you have to share? Yes, please.
Well, I have one more thing I want to share too.
Yeah.
Right. It's also, it's not about, for the hoteliers asking us questions or as planners or understanding us. I feel like it's also important for our side to understand our sales partner in the hotel. And so one thing like that I always ask is, what is the most important thing to the hotel with our piece of business? Like, right? Because I don't want to all of a sudden in negotiations, flip it from being a partnership to where it just feels bad. And then we're kind of the talk behind the scenes of like, oh my gosh, this group, they want everything, champagne taste on a shoestring budget, right? I don't want to be that person that people are talking about. And so I want to have that true partnership working. And so I don't want to feel like I've taken advantage of a hotel, or that
Mm.
I don't want them to feel like I've taken advantage of. And one thing I also always ask my sales partner is, what's important to you? Do you want this contract signed by the end of the quarter? I can get it done in a week if you want it in a week, or do you want it next quarter? And they're like,
Wow.
oh my gosh, I've never heard anyone ask me that. That means a lot. Thank you. Like, ooh, if some of them are like, can you save it for me? And others
Yeah.
are like, oh, if you could get it in the week, that would be amazing. So I feel like that shows that partnership, like trying to work with them, right, and help them as a person in what they're doing.
Yeah. And my takeaway from that is just ask goes both ways.
Yes.
It is not just me trying to sell you something. It is truly a partnership. Just ask is reciprocated. It's not do re me me me. It's do re us. That's what it
Do-re
is.
us. I love
Do
it.
re us. All right, t-shirts are going to be made, Kelly. Awesome.
Do-re us.
Yes. Doug,
A new one. You have a new slogan there, Bart.
Doug, last takeaway for you.
Well, I love Kelly's point. So I think that is outstanding on going both ways. I would say, and I thought about earlier when Kelly was talking too, that just ask for the business. Very few times do people actually ask for the business or act like they want the business. And I go back to a boss I had a long time ago. He said, if the salesperson doesn't ask for the job, I'm not hiring them. And I brought in someone that had the resume like you wouldn't believe, the best person ever, didn't ask for the job, and I wasn't allowed to hire them because they didn't at the end of the interview say, I want this job. So, I don't know why salespeople don't ask for the business. Hey, we love this. What can we do to earn your business? There's many ways to ask that question, but most of them don't, because I think they're afraid of what we'll say or whatever. But you have to ask for the business.
You're skipping ahead. That is actually pop the question, by the way. Pop the question, and that's one of the later pillars. So thanks for skipping ahead, Doug. Yeah.
Just teeing it up for you.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing.
What I'm here for, Bart.
Yeah. Well, thank you both. Doug, if people want to reach out to you, how can they find you?
They can find me on LinkedIn.
Doug Baarman, Baarman on LinkedIn, all over the place. One of the only organizations, if not the first organization, to produce over $1 billion as a team with Conference Direct. And I'm going to keep on tooting your horn forever. Kelly Bishop, if people would like to connect with you, best place.
I think LinkedIn is the best way as well.
Yes, Kelly Bishop, Bishop.
Yes.
Kelly, also one of the most positive people that I have ever met. And if I'm ever feeling down or need of inspiration, I chat with her, and she has so many great ideas about picking positive and how to Wellevate experiences. And you're applying all of that to Blood Centers of America. So both of you, thank you so much. And this is, people don't want to be sold. They want to be asked. This was pillar number 3 in humanality. Just ask, and we'll continue the conversations for whoever can join next Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Both rock stars. Thank you.